This is Modern Tribe TV, AM News, and I'm Ann Filippis. This morning we'll be talking to rising film director who specializes in music videos and has done several commercial work projects. He has expressed his talent on a national level, and his work has been shown on network television on a global level as well. He has worked with such artists, recording artists, including Twista, Young Jock, Christina Grimmie, Big Sean, Joan Red, Frequency 54, and John Blue, just to name a few. Could you please help me welcome Sean Babbis? Hi, Sean.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Thanks for coming and joining us today. I was wondering, after watching your director's reel, I would like to ask you, when did you pick up the camera? Because as far as I'm concerned, it seems like you were born with it.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people just assume that, and I wish I could say that I'm like one of the traditional stories where I was like 4 years old and I picked up a little VHS camcorder and was starting to film all that stuff, but it actually wasn't like that. I really started getting into it about probably 8th or 9th grade, you know, near the end of middle school. And I wasn't really doing anything film related. I was mostly filming a lot of like the extreme sports that me and my friends were doing. And I started really getting into it, you know, the production, making the things look good. We were doing skateboarding, you know, parkour, free running, like that kind of stuff. And after like I stepped back, I was like, wow, I'm really like enjoying this whole process. I said maybe I could actually use this for something that will like benefit me. And so I started doing little small projects here and there with my friends. We shot, you know, a few like fake music videos with like, you know, bigger artists like names with just them performing, that kind of stuff. And from there, and after I built up a few projects, I put together a little demo reel. And I remember one day I was sitting into a computer class in my high school, and I was actually looking on Craigslist for some film jobs to say like maybe I could actually, you know, pick up a job like this or something. And there was this band, they were called Frequency 54, and they posted there, it was like, hey, we're looking for a director, you know, that we need to shoot our single for, you know, we're on the brinks of making it and everything, send us your demo reel. And this was literally right after I finished my demo reel, you know, just to see if I could have it or anything. And so I submitted it, and after that they were like, hey, we'd love you to shoot our video. And so I was like, okay, great. And an entire year passed, and I didn't really shoot much in that year. And it turned around to be February of the next year, and we shot. And it was my very first music video experience, and we knocked it out. And then after it got released, because of it, they actually got signed to the DBM Warner record label group, and everything took off from there with, you know, all the music video and commercial work.
Okay, so when you talk about, you stated something about back in high school. So how long ago was that?
That's funny. That's the thing that a lot of people trip up on. I actually graduated from my high school, Troy High, last June of 2010. And so it's been a little, just about 13 months since I've been out of high school. So, because usually the age I normally get from people is around 24, but I'm just like, no, I'm actually still only 19, so still a teenager. You know, a lot of my, you know, crew jokes around there, it's like, oh yeah, you don't forget you're 12, so all that kind of stuff, but that's how it is.
So you definitely, the response that you get from other people, they're just,
they're very surprised. Yeah.
Yes, because you have, I mean, from looking at your video, it's amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, I've, the way you got my attention was your photographs. Amazing.
Thank
so you also are interested in filmography, or film, photograph, photography.
Right, yeah.
So is that something that you focus on as well?
The photography thing is, I tell a lot of people, it's something I enjoy doing, but it's not something I'm like purely focused on. I don't call myself a photographer. I have a ton of very talented photography friends, especially in the Detroit area. And, you know, they are the photographers, and, you know, if people are like, oh, I need a photo shoot, I say, go to them, you know, that's their thing.
Okay.
I stick to film. Do I do photography? Yes, but it's not my major thing. You know, I'm sticking with film. Photography is just more of a kind of fun side project for myself, so, yeah.
Seeing that you've had so much progress with that in just the past year, have you decided that this is going to be your career?
Oh yeah, definitely. I really enjoy the music video and commercial fields. I get to work with a lot of cool, talented people, especially all across the nation. Like there will be months where I'm literally living on planes and in hotels for like 3 weeks straight. And I remember one time in the month of May, I was in 7 states within 3 weeks, all for different productions. So every third day, here I am on like a new plane and up to a different state and everything. So it's definitely as of right now with this field, it's an interesting lifestyle. Now, basically my end goal is to end with features and everything, but too often I see, especially a lot of like kids in college that are like my age and still in their 20s or so, they're like, I want to make movies. And the thing that they have to realize is that it's not something that you can just walk up to a studio or whoever and say, all right, I need X amount of dollars to make this. And they're going to be like, well, why am I going to give you that money to make this film? Which is why I've been using a lot of music video and commercial work to prove that, one, I can work with budgets, two, I've worked with a lot of people and everything, so it's really helped get my name out there on a national level and everything, which has been nice because I know that once I do step into like the narrative realm, I'm going to have a lot of backing behind me. And so I'm going to be doing this for a little bit more. As you said, I'm only 19, so I got a little bit of time. A lot of people have been like, well, the youngest feature director is 26. So I guess I would have 7 years to do that if, I wanted to catch up to him. Not sure what's going to happen in 7 years, but, probably around next summer, I'm going to be hoping to start really breaking into like some short films to just prove my narrative ability and everything. And then maybe by the year after that, start pitching to some investors and producers about a possible feature. So.
Okay, excellent. Well, as far as the career thing and everything, I know so many kids your age, or I don't want to say kids, young people your age.
Yeah.
As far as this being a career, what kind of education have you had? Have you had any?
Right. I always say that the education you need for this field is up to you. Some people will say, oh, don't, complete scrap college, you don't need it. I am not saying that. I'm saying that it's for and it's for the taking if you need it. You can be self-taught, but then at the same time, if you feel like you need, that kind of route and you need to be taught like that way, then go for it. Everyone is their own different story. There's, one person will be like, oh yeah, I learned it all myself and everything. That's kind of how I've been. Mm-hmm. I actually started attending Columbia College in Chicago, and after about a semester, I realized it just wasn't for me. I just started working full time and everything. But there are some people there that are like, I'm thinking about, quitting school and everything. I'm just like, I mean, you can if you want, but if you really feel like you can teach yourself, then go for it. But at the same time, those teachers, they can teach you things. They can teach you how a set, should be run on a completely 100% correct way. They'll teach you how to work in the industry. They'll help you network a little bit. But at the same time, they're not going to teach you a lot of real life scenarios. And one day on a professional film set is going to teach you so much more than 3 months will in a classroom. Because if you do something like roll a load of film in a 35mm camera and you don't close the box or something and it gets exposed, you're out of whole 1,000-foot mag, which isn't the most cheap thing. And so you're going to learn that lesson a whole lot more than your teacher constantly saying every day, don't forget, to close the box on the camera and everything.
Right.
So it's those kind of real life lessons that you'll learn so much more quickly on a real, environment. But, like I said, it's a different story for everyone. Mm-hmm. For me, it's been self-taught, but I'm not saying that that's how it needs to be for everyone.
Yeah. LaShawn, what are you working on currently?
Currently, within the past few weeks, I've kind of just stepped it down, and because there have been times when I've been shooting like 2 music videos a week, and which is absolutely a crazy part of my life. And lately, I've been kind of just slowing down a little bit because what I'm trying to do is make a much bigger step up. And so the only projects I'm really taking on nowadays are really big ones, because I'm focusing a lot of my time and effort right now on talking to agents and people at kind of those representation levels, so I can actually make a much bigger move up rather than be running around still shooting like medium budget music videos, because my end goal is to be shooting higher end music videos, and rather than doing a bunch a month, rather than I would be focusing on maybe like 1 or 2 a month, something like that. Lately, I worked with this girl. Her name is Christina Grimmy, and working with her was pretty cool. She came up on YouTube, and she's kind of like the same case as Justin Bieber. She did a lot of covers and everything, and that's how she got discovered. And she eventually, progressed into doing her own music. She worked with a recording artist out in New York that I actually had some mutual friends with and everything. So they're like, "Oh yeah, you just worked with Christina, right?" And it's like, "Yeah, how did you know?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm really good friends with the guy who produced her album." So it's just like, it's crazy how people link up like that and everything.
Right.
Working with her was pretty cool. I just worked with John Blue and Twista. They are two big Chicago recording artists. So that was premiered on this site called World Star Hip Hop. So that was pretty cool. And then also within the last week, like this is pretty much all within the last week, I had a release that I worked with this a few artists, Young Jock and Jabbar. It was kind of like a collaboration song and everything. We shot that down in Atlanta, and that just made its BET Network premiere several days ago.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that was pretty cool. I worked with this band called Edison out in New York. We shot in the middle of this most remote location ever. We were in the middle of mountains, and there was no stores around anywhere. I remember one morning I was like, "Oh, it'd be awesome to go grab some breakfast from McDonald's or something." There's that's not going to happen. I was like, "Wait, why?"
Kind of hard for a Chicago boy who.
Oh, completely. Yeah, living downtown in Chicago, I'm kind of been spoiled because there's so many restaurants around me. I can just walk down the street. But that's pretty much what I've been doing lately.
Okay.
So it's, going to be trying to branch into the more commercial field as well. Lately, I'm talking to several people both out in Virginia and California for that.
Okay.
So going to be breaking into that a little bit more upcoming. So.
And are you marketing yourself then, or are you with an agency?
I have several people that I'm with. I have a manager out here in Michigan that I've been working with a lot and everything. And then I also have an agent out in New York that's been kind of representing me. But I don't really, both of them, it's dependent on the project. There are some projects where I'm like, "Oh yeah, this will be a Michigan thing," or the agent out in New York, he'll be like, "Hey, we got this project coming up, need a treatment," that kind of stuff. So, between the two of them, it's been working out pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sean, what would you say, what works are you most proud of? What project would you say you are most proud of?
I can't really set aside one specific project, and each project is, it's all my projects are important to me. Now, and it'd be unfair to say I have a favorite project, but I do have a few that I enjoyed really, especially the production on them and what I was able to do with them.
Okay.
So I'd have to say probably my favorite music video that I've done was for this rock band out of Tennessee. They were called Joan Red. And it was really cool because their music just lends itself out to create some really visual stories. They had this album called Side Effects of You, and literally I went through the entire album and I had music video ideas for every single song on the album. And so, if we could have shot a music video for every single song, I would have. And I would, there have been some great music videos like that. But we shot for this one song called You Be the Hero, and that was in actually the month after I got out of high school. And it was a very fun production, worked with some very talented people on it. So that was very cool. Unfortunately, the lead singer of the band, Anthony Baserdo, he passed away due to some medical issues with some prescription drugs or something. And so now the only really thing that a lot of people have left is that music video, which is, I'm glad that I was really able to be a part of that and, I guess have his dream live on through that.
Absolutely.
There was this group called Auto Vector. They're a pop group out in the Michigan area, and we shot a very futuristic, kind of modern style video for it. And a lot of people have told me, they're just like, "Oh, that's my favorite video of yours that I've done."
At the CompuWare building?
That was shot at the CompuWare building.
Yeah.
And the thing that I loved about that building is just the overall aesthetics and architecture of it and everything, because a lot of people that don't know that building, they're like, "Where was that shot in a spaceship or something?"
No.
I'm like, that's what's great about that building, because it's kind of like a Google building. It's really modern and just there's a lot of symmetry and stuff. So a lot of the main performance shots, I decided to put their main singer, which is a girl, in this kind of tube type area that had these awesome glass panels behind her and everything. So that was great. So those are probably two of my favorite music videos. I did this thing for Monster Energy, and I worked with this really talented and one basketball player who's won a lot of like professional dunk contests and everything. So that was, yep, that was another one of my commercial pieces, and that was definitely fun. The thing that I love about commercial work is like, you'll see a lot of like things like the wall side commercials, it's just like talking and everything, but like a lot of people have told me, and which I agree on because I love it because of that, is like my commercial works, you know, they'll be 30 seconds and everything, but they're very like surreal, and that's what I love about, you know, the pieces that I do. Like they don't have like your normal commercial feel to them. You'll be like, at the end you're just like, wait, that's it? You know, and that's what I love
Wanting us, that's what we want. You want to leave us wanting more, right?
Right, exactly. So those are probably three of my favorite projects.
Cool, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am going to ask you, I'm sure so many people have already asked you this, but what about, who has inspired you as a director? Like what do you watch and say, I love that work? I mean.
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, a lot of filmmakers I've seen, like, or I don't want to say like filmmakers, but I've seen a lot of film fans. Mm-hmm. I've seen get caught up in admiring like other directors, and they'll like go on and on about like the entire like life biography of a certain director and everything. I'm like, that's very cool, but at the same time, like, you can't get so caught up in their stuff because you need to develop your own style as well. So I have a few favorite directors and films that I love, but at the same time, like, I don't watch them to analyze them. I watch them to enjoy them because, you know, I'm trying to focus on my own style as well. Ridley and Tony Scott, you know, I love their work. I love stuff like Black Hawk Down, you know, American Gangster. Those are good movies. The Hughes Brothers, The Book of Eli, that's a great movie. I'm trying to think of some others. My favorite director is Michael Bay. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Michael Bay is just all about explosions and, you know, action sequences. And I'm just like, well, of course. I mean, like, who doesn't like that kind of stuff?
Get your attention.
I mean, exactly. Because if you think about it, I think they spent like somewhere like $400 to $500 million on that, you know, movie. But within the opening week alone, you know, worldwide, it made $1.2 billion.
Wow.
You know, what movie does that?
Right.
And so
it has to be done right.
Exactly. And that's because, you know, no matter what, people are always going to love that kind of stuff. Yeah, people will bash it. People are like, oh, you know, it's just the same old stuff. But, you know, it's still awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, Michael Bay is cool. I love a lot of the sci-fi and action realms. I love, like, Bourne Identity. I love, you know, Live Free or Die Hard, you know, those kind of movies. James Bond, you know, I mean, those are just fun, action-packed movies. Like, what can you say about that?
I love them myself, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
Well, I am going to, this is, a lot of the creative people watching, I know one being my daughter, who is a musician and an artist and a songwriter, she would probably want to hear what inspires you to get, like, say the Christina Grimmie video. Mm-hmm. Where did that come from? Your thought process?
Well, they originally sent me the song. You know, her manager is the same manager as Selena Gomez and everything, and we started talking, like opening up a line, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, we have this new single for her and everything. We're looking to shoot a music video for it. And so they sent it to me, and it's a very pop kind of song, and the lyrics were in it, and it weren't very straightforward. And I was like, you know, listening to it, you know, I'm just like sitting up in my apartment up in Chicago. I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? And literally for a few days, like I could not think of anything, because when you listen to lyrics, of course you can do a easy like love story type thing, and I'm just like, there's no way we're gonna do that, because that's what everyone's doing.
Right.
Like I didn't want to do something that was like really like stereotypical, you know, boring kind of stuff. And so I was like, the song is about, you know, love and everything, and so I was like, what other love can there be besides like love between, you know, a guy and a girl? And after thinking about it for a little bit, I was like, well, I know that, you know, there's good love in like family, you know, especially between like siblings and everything. So I'm just like, you know, how am I going to do this? And going back to the stereotypes, like a lot of people stereotype certain people that do like have certain looks and everything. And so I'm like, what if, you know, I grabbed some like punk teenager or something that a lot of people would stereotype him for something and everything, and show that the thing that he may be stereotyped for could be turned into something that's good. And so I was like, you know, especially in the Detroit area and everything, graffiti is like a big problem and all that stuff. You see it everywhere,
Yeah.
highway overpasses, outside studios, just like everywhere. And so I was like, I wonder if we could act on that or something. And so I'm just like, well, maybe we could show that he's hesitant about doing it. And then he turns it into, his sister who's been hospitalized for whatever you want to make of it, and, turn into something good. And we turned it into a positive message, telling his sister to stay strong. And there were a lot of comments on YouTube, which I loved. People are like, oh, wow, this music video, made me cry and everything. And that's, for a director, that's the greatest thing, to see that, the piece that you made was actually so emotional for people that they actually, cried. And I'm just like, wow, I wasn't really expecting a response like that. I was, expecting people to be like, oh, that's a cool concept and stuff. But people saying, I cried because of it, I was like, wow, that's awesome.
It's a story.
Yeah.
You told a story.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool, thank you.
Cut.
Okay. So, Sean, I know once I talked to you about, I made a comment to you about the 48-hour film project.
Okay.
And I know what your comment was on that.
Yeah.
So, tell me what direction are you going to be moving into with directing? What are you hoping for?
Well, about the whole 48-hour film festival, I think it's a cool concept, but I think at the same time, people really shouldn't get too caught up in it, because that's not a real life scenario. No film is ever going to be rushed that quickly and everything. I'd rather see people take time to, develop something good, rather than rush to prove that they can do something in a few hours. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, really, what is that proving? A real movie, there's a lot of money behind it. At the same time, there's a lot of pre-production that goes into it. Just make it right, rather than just rush something to prove that you can do something real quickly. Mm-hmm. As far as my direction with my career and everything, I'm going to, continue with the music video and commercial work for a little bit, and, like I said, use it to really get my name out there, so once I do say, hey, I want to do a movie, people are going to be like, okay, yeah, we've seen you, out in the industry, working with a lot of people and everything, so yeah, let's talk. So I'm hoping within the next 2 or 3 years, I actually do start talking to, some bigger people as far as an actual feature is concerned. And a lot of people they said, oh yeah, I guess you are kind of taking the same route that Michael Bay took and everything. I was like, yeah, like I said, you got to work up rather than just can't just pop up there.
Right.
So.
You're working hard, like we have to teach our kids, one step at a time.
Right.
Not just expect you're going to go and get that top-notch job.
Completely.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's definitely about climbing up.
Right.
Because people are like, oh yeah, it's good to take a break at times, and yeah, for a day or so. But a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, you can take a few weeks off, or go to school, and just 4 years from now you'll be able to step back. And I was like, no, that's definitely not going to happen. You take a little 2 or 3 month break from it and everything, that's going to be an opportunity for someone else that's just under you to pass you up right
You've
then.
got your momentum going. Why stop?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot of hard work. People are like, oh yeah, director life, it's great and everything. And it's fun. I get to meet a lot of people, get to work with a lot of artists, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's so much work. I think people fail to realize how much, pre-production and emails and phone calls go into everything and all that kind of stuff. There will be weeks where I'm only averaging 3 hours of sleep a night, and people are like, how are you doing it? I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of what I'm used to, so I couldn't really imagine it any other way. So
Awesome, and I'm glad you're young because you can keep doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, I know I have been fortunate to work with you as a director, and I have found it such a great experience. You're very good to work with, so easy to work with and easygoing. I used to get very you walk into a set or something and you're all nervous and kind of uptight a little bit, what to expect, but you did such a nice job, and you're just so laid back and easygoing. So I want people to know that is really important for people who are on set. So the next thing, in closing, I just want to put it back to you and ask you if there's, what you'd like everyone to know. Is there anything you want to focus on and let, our viewers know?
I'd have to say that if there's anything that's important about this industry, it's all about who you surround yourself with. because you can keep working and working and working on your own little projects, but if you're not surrounding yourself with like other successful people and everything, you're not going to have the drive that they have, to keep pushing yourself, because you'll keep seeing, all the stuff that they're doing, and like you'll get used to their quality of work, their level of work, and you're like, wait, what's holding me back from doing that level kind of stuff? And so I remember when I was first starting out, like I have a friend, and he was doing a lot of big commercial work, and like he's, looking to his first feature and everything. And I kept, talking to him every day. I was working on sets with him and stuff, getting used to that level of quality. I'm just like, I step back, I'm like, what's holding me back from, doing that kind of stuff? So that's definitely a really important thing. As far as any upcoming, hopeful directors or anything, it's all about becoming like personal with the people you're working with. Like I've seen a lot of directors, like they've been like, oh, the whole stereotypical like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like yell out over that kind of stuff, just whatever I want and everything. But like what I try to do is like I try to establish a really personal connection with all the people I work with. So like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna need that and everything, like yell it over. Like I will literally like pull over like the actor I'm working with and just talk to him quietly, just get him like eased up, all that kind of stuff. So that's an important thing. And a thing that I tell a lot of people, no matter what industry you're in, if you're a filmmaker, if you're a recording artist or anything, that if you have a dream, no matter how crazy it is, you have to go down and chase it. And if you keep working at it, you'll get there. Because with like this day and age, with how many places you can like push out your work and like show what you're capable of, it's all about if you have the drive for it, it'll happen. So that's that's the most important thing, because I've seen so often people that are really talented just not really show their work or anything. And I'm just like, what are you doing? They're not getting any jobs. Like they have the most beautiful videos that they're making, or like, their photography is like mind blowing, but like, they'll only put it, keep it on like Facebook and just show their friends and stuff. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, push it out there. You can, make a living from this. Isn't that what you want to do? And there's like, no, I guess. And I'm just like, no, you can't guess. You got to make sure it happens. So that's definitely another really important thing with this. So.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I know that you have been working so hard, so I can vouch for that, and I wish you the best of everything and all your works ahead of you.
Thank you.
We're going to close for now, and if you would like to see any of Sean's work, he's at, what is your website? Can you go ahead and...
It's just www.seanbabbas.com.
SeanBabbas, right?
1B.
1B. Babbas.
There you go.
All right, I'm
sorry. It's a weird last name.
Well, thank you very much. This is Modern Tribe TV AM News, and I'm Ann Filippis, closing with Sean Babbas.